here we're going to be opening up a MacBook that is not powering on. This is an A1502 MacBook. So this is an 820-4924 board, or as Hi would call it, a Sony Trinitron. You know what, this can get an ultrasonic. Alright, so this board is the one that I was working on in the beginning, which is taking 50 milliamps. So let's go through this board and try to figure out why it's taking 50 milliamps and what could be causing it. This is an 820-4924 MacBook. Let's start measuring its rails. The first thing we're going to measure is our PP bus, 12.6 volts. It's a beautiful number to get on your PP bus. Next up, we're going to measure PP5ES5. PP5ES5 can be found down here. 5 volts, steady. PP5ES4. PP5ES4 appears to be missing. And the enable, let's see if the enable's there or if it's jumping. If the enable for PP5ES4 is not jumping, it's static. So let's take a look around this board and try and figure out what could be causing such a thing to occur. Now if we look by our clock chip, look at this. But as you can see, there are marks from where the gross area was. So see how this capacitor over here looks nice? It has 2 metal ends. Pretty, right? Whereas this capacitor over here has a metal end, but then the brown part of it kind of is there, and there's no metal cap over it anymore. So we do that, just flick that little cap off the board, and after we flick that cap off of the board, so as you can tell, as always, we pick the boards from the new slots when Paul is not here at random, and then we only choose the ones that are the most difficult out of the random pile. This one was difficult because, as you could see, it required an ultrasonic cleaning, which meant that I had to get out of my chair. It required drying it, which meant waiting, which is a pain in the ass. It required touching the purplish goo on it. And then I had to flick a capacitor off, which meant that I had to bend my tweezers a little bit, which means that I now have to walk up to the front and get a new set of tweezers. So to any of you who say that Paul is the one that gets all the hard jobs, just think of all the heavy lifting that was required to fix a board like this. A lot of work. Next up on the list is a liquid damage, no power. Let's try and figure out what's wrong with this liquid damage, no power air. What happened to other new guy? He's sitting in the Paul seat working on the Paul Q. He also has Paul RGB. So, how's the food?
Food's pretty good. This was all like $7.
$7 for all of that? Was that halal guys or somebody else?
No, it was a benefit spot. This was 24/7 by me.
Yeah, so as you guys have noticed, every time you say a word, the LED lights change color. So as can be seen here, there's no green light on the charger. The first thing we're going to do is check that a Pepper 3 before 2 is there. So we have 0.1 volts on Pepper 3 before 2. Now let's see what we're getting on the input. We're getting 18.6 on input, 0 on output. Do keep in mind that every single one of these boards that I work on does get picked at random, picked at random. What the fuck? So let's try and figure out why it is that this board is missing PP3V42 and not getting a green light. So the first thing we have to do is open a schematic for an 820-00165 board. Alright, let's check that out. So the first thing we need to do is check out the enable line, which is going to be right over here. The way this works, SHDN is the shutdown pin. If the voltage is lower than I think 2 or 3 volts, it's going to shut the chip down and not work. So it has to have the 0 ohm resistor R7080 here in order to send power from the 16 volt input to pin A to the chip. Let's see what's going on there. It appears that resistor may be missing. It's a 0 ohm resistor. Interesting. Interesting that the little resistor's not there. So strange. I can go and put a little bodge wire in there, which we're going to do just to test and see if this is the only issue with this board. Because this random board may have just a random issue of this one random missing resistor. Random. Picked at random. Picked at random. We're getting a fan spin. So that's about that. So we were just missing one simple resistor on this board. We just, ran that little jumper wire, and it seems to be completely fixed. So just in case anybody is still wondering, we get some difficult jobs as well. I had to open the bottom of the case. I had to use the microscope to find that. I didn't have a 0 ohm resistor on my desk, so I had to run the jumper wire. I didn't have the micro pencil plugged in, so I had to use a normal soldering iron to solder that jumper wire on there. So that's it for today, and as always, I hope you learned something.